and
Hello.
welcome to the podcast. It's the Macaw Podcast universe.
Take two.
Take two. Yeah, we don't.
Third episode, take two on this welcome.
They don't have to know that, Jordan.
They do now. It's an honesty thing.
But this is the podcast where two lovers, Micah Macaw and Jordan Macaw, go through and we dissect franchises, sequels, universes, if you will. Hence the name, the Macaw Podcast
Should
universe.
they be in there? Should they not be in there?
Are they good?
Are they bad?
What's good about them? What's bad about them?
What if they're just okay?
What if they're serviceable? Who knows? So our first series has been the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we're just doing Phase 1 right off the bat. We will do the others later, but
So, third installment of Phase 1.
yes, and this one's unique because it's the first. This is our third episode, but it's the first sequel.
Uh-huh.
Because Incredible Hulk is part of the series, but it is not.
Thought we agreed to forget that one.
Okay. Moving on. No. So today we're doing Iron Man 2. This movie came out May 7th, 2010.
Mm-hmm. We were sophomores in high school.
We were sophomores in high school. Were we really?
Yes.
We were. Wow. So we're doing that one today. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Production notes.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. So it's directed by
the one and only.
Wow, I was going to say the same thing. Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau,
Yes. I wasn't correcting you. I just needed to say his name again. I don't know why. This one is only produced by Kevin Feige. Remember the other two had Avi Arad and another person. I can't remember her name. Screenplay by Justin Theroux or Theroux.
I just know someone with that last name, and they pronounce it T-Row.
Could be.
But
who did a phenomenal job in Maniac this last year.
Yeah, he's also pretty sure past guest on CBB, Comedy Bing Bong.
Really?
Isn't he?
Oh, was he on the show?
The podcast.
Oh, I've never heard it.
I just want to say that he is. I just think that he is. He also, though, plays Leslie Knope's boyfriend in the first couple seasons of Parks and Rec.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He is as Ron Swanson calls him, the tourist. And
okay.
He does a great job because he's always like, "Oh, this is really fun. Let me tell you about these fun experiences I had."
Oh, that's right.
And he's lived in really cool places, but we're not talking about that.
We aren't, but we are talking about Justin Theroux.
Yes, most notable as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
However, his writing credits.
Yeah, I want to dig into his writing.
He wrote Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. I forgot about this, which I'll jump in. Downey is the one who recommended Justin
that makes sense.
to write the script because he co-wrote Tropic Thunder. So he had a good... What year did Tropic Thunder come out?
2008.
2008. So they had a nice working relationship, I suppose, and that's why he had him come in to do the script.
Yep. So then right after that, he did Iron Man 2, which would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, he did Rock of Ages, which we need to watch because it's got Tom Cruise in it.
It's got the T. Cruise.
So we got to watch it just because we love him and we support him.
We love you, Tom. Blessings.
And then the last thing he wrote was Zoolander 2.
Ooh, so he did 2 really great movies and then 2 really bad movies.
But he is, more than anything, a comedy guy.
Okay.
Are
you hitting some of that up as well, or
what?
Are you hitting up
not too much? I mean, I think some of the most notable things are what we have already mentioned. I mean, his acting credits in IMDb are 58. So he's just been in everything. I feel like he's that guy that he does a lot of voice acting. He's in a lot of TV shows. Mm-hmm. He's just kind of like never really the star.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even call him being typecasted because he's just so different in everything I've seen him.
Yeah.
But he's always a side character.
Right.
And it's always a really great side character.
And remember what he was in that we saw 2 years ago.
He's in American Psycho. Sorry.
Yeah, he's one of the businessmen.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah. But remember, he is the code breaker in The Last Jedi, which was so weird and shocking to see.
Yeah,
him.
We'll get to that eventually.
Yeah. So we are going to do Star Wars. I guess it's settled.
Well, we have to. For doing this wonderful series, we have to do that.
Whoa, yikes.
So what are we going into next?
Well, I just wanted to hit the music is John Debney. once again, so far we're kind of 0 for 3 on the music for me.
Okay.
This movie more than the other two, it works.
Well, I couldn't tell you
but
any notable parts.
It's nothing interesting.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to run into that problem a lot in the Marvel movies because really the only movies that pop musically off the top of my head are the two Guardians, and it's not the score that pops, it's the soundtrack. And then Black Panther had a...
Infinity War
had a really good sound score as well.
Yeah.
So Infinity
Black
War and
Panther
Black
too.
Panther.
Yeah.
Black Panther's got our boy Ludwig Göransson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he needs to be doing
Chaboy.
more.
Yeah.
Chaboy Troy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then this one's distributed by Paramount. So we're still not in the Disney yet. I think, well, let me see. So on December 31st of 2009, Walt Disney purchased Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion.
2009?
2009. So they would have had some sort of ownership of the movie, but it's just kind of slated as a Paramount picture. I think I'm going to double check that, though. But it seems that they already had this Thor and Captain America going before Walt Disney came in. So Avengers is like one of the first true Disneys. Now, I might later prove myself wrong when I do my research for the other two movies. But anyway, yeah, because Disney acquires distribution rights for the Avengers with Paramount logo remaining on movie in 2010. So they were still kind of working to take over the franchise in Phase 1. Phase 2 is like true Disney.
Oh, okay.
Now has the franchise. Is the impression I get. Again, could be subject to a couple of finer details changed as we go. Yeah, so anyway, this movie came out May 7th, 2010.
You already said that.
I already said that?
Yeah.
I thought maybe I did, but I didn't delete the note. That was my mistake.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Best Visual Effects, which the effects are pretty good in this movie.
I would say so.
They hold up fairly well. Production budget.
Besides,
Mickey Rourke in that suit.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, but I mean, they had the same problem in Infinity
War. They did what they could.
Yeah. It cost $200 million to make this movie. Huge budget. That is the amount of money it took to make Last Jedi, which is a Star Wars movie.
Oh, wow.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then it did perform well, though. It did 623,933,331. So
I thought you said it, because I'd never seen this until we saw it. But didn't you say that fans weren't a huge fan of it?
Well, that's what I thought, but I think I'm wrong on that. I might be wrong.
Because this movie rocked my socks off.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's a movie that I think a lot of people were let down from the first movie.
Interesting.
Is the impression.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though.
And then the last of my notes here is that Don Cheadle replaces Terrence Howard because of contract disputes. This is one of those things, like a lot of these, where there's a lot of articles about why did Terrence Howard really leave Iron Man and all this stuff. As far as I know, it's probably because he wasn't getting paid as much as he wanted to, but we don't know really for sure what that means. So that's what I have on the Terrence Howard. So which would be a perfect segue for Don Cheadle.
Yeah. Okay. I was not going to start on him.
I know.
Confession to the listeners, really dropped the ball on this one. Didn't have time to look up people. Currently making dinner at the recording of this podcast.
We're pausing every once in a while so that
some grace, please. So Don Cheadle, I don't know very much about him. I know he's in Boogie Nights. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I can think of that he's in. Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's been in a lot of things I've seen, but I don't know too much about him. So he's in a lot of TV shows early on in his career, in an episode of The Fresh Prince.
Really?
Looks like nope, that's not him. Looks like a weird movie though. But yeah, I'm looking through what I have in front of me right now, and it's a lot of things that I've never heard of. Doesn't mean they're not well-known movies or anything, but nothing that really like strikes me. The first thing that does is Boogie Nights in 1997, where he plays Buck Swope, who is the guy who owns the
he works at the
stereo shop,
and then he's a pornographer by night.
And he keeps trying to reinvent himself. Like that's his thing in the movie.
Yeah,
because he keeps changing his style. It's like he's trying. Remember, he's like a cowboy at one time.
Yeah.
Then he does this weird Egyptian thing at one time. And it's always so funny, but it's also, I think, really relatable.
Yeah.
Too.
When he has the shootout at the end of the movie. Does he die in the movie? I can't remember.
Who is he with? He's with
his wife. But
his wife was one of the people who had been in the movie for a while.
Oh, I don't remember.
I can't remember who she was. But I don't think it shows him dying, but he definitely got shot.
Okay.
It's been a little bit.
He's at the donut shop and getting all those jelly filled. And that scene, the way they shot it, you just want donuts so bad. And then everybody starts getting shot and you don't want the donuts as much anymore.
You actually throw up donuts. It's weird because you haven't eaten them, but you throw them up.
You never eat them before Boogie Nights.
And then he plays Sammy Davis Jr. in a TV movie of the Rat Pack. I know everyone knows that. He's in Traffic, a movie I couldn't finish.
Yeah.
That is apparently very well done. Or, I don't know, I wouldn't say well done. Very popular. A famous movie.
Yeah.
He's in Rush Hour 2, Ocean's 11. Oh, that's right. He's in Ocean's 11. That's right.
All the Oceans, yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I know I'm doing a pretty bad job on Don Cheadle.
It's okay.
I mean, he's in a lot of stuff. He's in 89 projects.
Yeah.
That's so much. So then even with looking at Mickey Rourke, who is a German Canadian, I thought he was Hispanic.
Really?
Yeah. So he's in 84 projects, and I know even less about Ricky Rourke. I know he's in The Expendables. I know he's in a lot of action movies.
Yeah.
A lot of action movies. So
I think I've only seen him in Expendables 1, because that was the only one I could get through, and Iron Man 2. So I don't know about Mickey Rourke. I know he did a
certain movie that...
Yeah, he did The Wrestler, which is a movie by Darren Aronofsky.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, is it weird?
I haven't seen it, but Preston said it was good. Your brother.
Yeah.
It's pretty well revered, I think.
Oh, okay.
Critically.
I've seen some of it, and it just looks very dated.
Yeah.
It's kind of old, right? Like 90s?
I don't think it's 90s. I think it's early 2000s.
Oh.
It's probably around this movie, actually.
Let's see.
Might be 2008, I want to say, is The Wrestler.
2008. Oh.
Wow.
Right,
good job, Micah.
Yeah, but he's in Sin City, which came out in 2005.
Oh, he's in Sin City.
Yeah, he is Marv. I've never seen the movie, so I don't know what that is.
Isn't that the main guy?
No, he's not the main guy. Yes, he's the main guy.
Okay, yeah.
Clive Owen's in that movie. How come I haven't seen this movie?
It's a good movie.
But yeah, so then he's in Iron Man 2 in 2010, which is the same year as The Expendables.
Ugh, man, that
but yeah,
movie's rough.
he's just been in so much action, especially just like combat movies. Yeah. He's in a lot of those. And then we have Scarlett Johansson,
who we are going to have a big conversation about that once we get to when her character is introduced.
Yes.
Because listener at home, if you don't know this, Scarlett Johansson is extremely sexualized in this movie, and it does not age well. I'll put it that way.
No.
But we'll get into the specifics.
It's a little offensive.
I'm
going to say that.
It's not great.
But the first thing that I see on her filmography that's most notable is Lost in Translation in 2003.
Okay. Well, she's in some stuff before that, like The Man Who Wasn't There.
Oh, yeah. Didn't know.
But, I mean, we don't have to cover her whole career. Just do the...
No. But, I mean, Lost in Translation, and then she's in The Prestige.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, she's like the one that Christian Bale has the affair with.
Okay.
As well... No. She's with Hugh Jackman, and then Hugh Jackman wants to figure out how Christian Bale does his stuff, and she gets with Christian Bale to learn, but kind of falls in love with him.
That's right.
That's what happens. But yeah, she's in a ton of chick flicks, but also a lot of action movies.
Okay, yeah,
she's
so
like kind of split.
Consistent.
She's not in very many dramas, I would say. I mean,
I thought she was not an action star until this movie.
I'm talking about from here on out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought this movie was like, oh, now she's an action person.
Yeah, I mean, because she's in so many Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But she's also in Her.
Right.
She's the voice of the computer. Her. She's in Don John as well.
Yeah.
She's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's movie. And then she's in Under the Skin, which
That's the vampire movie, right?
She's not a vampire, she's an alien. That movie is so interesting to me because I've never seen it, but I've looked up that movie so often because it's so fascinating to me, but every time I look it up, I'm like, I can't watch that. Yeah. It's just, I don't think I could handle it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it was pretty well reviewed, and
I think so too.
I didn't see it either.
She's in a lot of stuff. She's in Lucy, she's Ghost in the Shell. She was in Isle of Dogs last year.
Oh yeah, she was good in that.
So she's a pretty big household name at this point. Yeah. But my favorite person in the movie who stole the show, besides Robert Downey Jr. was great, Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. He does good.
Love
in this movie.
Guy. Love this guy.
He's Justin Hammer in the movie, who's a rival military technology weapons producer.
Yes.
And although not necessarily rival, because Tony's not interested in doing those weapons anymore, but he is interested in making a suit and selling it to the military. And my thing about Rockwell on this movie is he knows what kind of movie he's in.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a scene later in the movie where he's selling weapons to Don Cheadle and the military, and he is doing this whole like speech about each gun where he'll grab a gun and then he goes, now this is the Beretta blankety blankety blank, and this one, it's good. You can shoot someone right in the face. This is gonna happen. But I can tell you guys aren't interested in that. You guys are steak men. You don't want a little side. You want a steak. And then he'll pull out another gun, and then he does the whole spiel, and then he's like, oh, okay, but you guys, you like steak, you don't love steak. What you guys want is a nice dessert, a wine, and he just does this whole thing throughout the whole section, and I'm like, that's maybe my favorite scene of the movie, because he just, as our blank check. That podcast Blank Check does, he bathes in the river of ham, which just means sometimes in a movie you need to be hammy, and this is the kind of movie where if you do it just right, it pops, and it's so great. I also think that because I don't know, he won the Oscar for 3 Billboards, first Oscar he's won to my recollection. He just won the one.
Yeah, and it's just my favorite thing about him as an actor is he talks so much in most of his movies. Yeah, I just love hearing him talk. Yeah, he's so convincing in like every role that he is, and I mean I forget that I'm watching Sam Rockwell.
He rules
in anything.
So hard,
and he's exactly what you said. He just hams it up, and he's so funny, but he's so dramatic.
Yeah, and he doesn't always ham, but that's why I think he's so good. Is in this movie he knows to be hammy.
Yeah, but I would say one of his most notable movies that I know you haven't seen, and I've told you several times to see, is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
I always forget. It has such a long title, I never remember
It's a George Clooney movie.
That's right. Yeah.
And it has Drew Barrymore in it. We're gonna forget that, but it's just so interesting because he plays the guy who invented the Gong Show, and this guy, this is true, claimed to be an undercover agent for the CIA. So it's just a really weird story. He's such a weird person.
Every time you mention it, I think we need to watch it.
Yeah, and it's just he just like gets wrapped up in the weirdest things, and it's sort of like The Informant, where it's like, who's telling the truth in this movie?
Yeah,
it's so good. That's one of his best performances ever. I love Sam Rockwell.
No, we've talked about Robert Downey previously. I did want to touch on this because I think this is crazy, and Robert Downey has not kept private his paychecks from these movies. And so his first paycheck for Iron Man 1 was $500,000. And then...
So cheap.
Then, in 2010, Iron Man 2, he makes $10 million. So he not only doubles it, Not only doubles that. He doubles, and then half of the original double to $10 million.
He's got a good manager.
Yeah. Well, and you know, this series really is built upon the back of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because he's the first one, but he is the leader of the Avengers. And I think after having watched Infinity War and then going back and watching these movies, you just see how important he has always been. Without him, there's definitely a hole.
Yep.
So, more power to him.
Yeah.
You go, RDJ.
Yeah. Sure.
And then, go ahead.
Well, another person who does kind of ride throughout these movies, but in the background, is Samuel L. Jackson.
That's
plays
right.
Nick Fury, who is kind of like the MacGuffin for the Avengers. Because he, in a way, is assembling them and just keeping that for the viewer, just like, it'll happen, it's happening,
that through
it's happening.
Line throughout all the movies.
Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson, everyone knows who he is.
Yeah.
It's even like, do I need to say things that he's been in? Yes, because that's my part of this. But, I mean, he was in Jurassic Park. Pulp Fiction.
He was in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park, Pulp Fiction, Snakes on a Plane, Jackie Brown. He is Glass. He's Mr. Glass in Unbreakable, and he's amazing.
He's going to be Mr. Glass again in Glass.
Yes.
Or he was, because that movie already came out and we already saw it.
Yes.
We didn't record this 2 months ago.
No. And then he's in The Hateful Eight.
Yes.
Just... what a wonderful performance.
What movie did was he in right before this? I'm curious.
Well, let's look if you want to be so technical about it.
He's
in The Other Guys. Okay, so in 2009, he's in Mother and Child, Inglourious Bastards. He's the narrator.
Oh, that's right.
Uncredited. But yeah, in 2009, he's on like a ton of projects, but nothing too big.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we can pretty much jump in. Another quick little thing is, in the previous Iron Man, they built, those cool suits, and they did some CGI. In this movie, they built light, partial suits that a person could fit in. And I think if you compare Iron Man in any of the action scenes against the suit that Stark is wearing during this party, for example, you'll see that the party suit is much larger and bulkier. This is because he's wearing the physical suit during the party scenes, and then transition back to the CGI for the fight afterwards. So, and I think from the same... Yeah, there you can see some sequences. There are some images where they just have certain special like motion capture suits on. So now... I mean, I know that now he pretty much doesn't wear a suit, I think.
Yeah.
So, but they're still in the transition in this movie where sometimes he kind of is, or a partial suit. So, but now I think we're ready to jump into Iron Man 2. My initial thoughts on a rewatch, the first time I saw it was in theaters, and I loved it as a kid, and I never saw it again, as is the case with all these first movies that we've done. But I really, really liked it. So I thought that it was great.
Great on the rewatch.
And then we watched it again, and I thought it was pretty darn great. I was surprised at how well it held up, and it really did further the story, and yet it laid a lot of groundwork for Avengers. So, and I think it's fairly successful at both things.
Yeah, for me, first time I saw this movie, I think when it came out, I just didn't care about these movies still. So I just completely missed it out of theaters, and it's like, well, I guess I'll never watch it. So watching it today, in the context of having seen most of the other ones, as I said in the last episode, my expectations were so low, as usual with these movies. Immediately from basically the first opener, when it focuses on Mickey Rourke, I was like, okay, this movie's great because it's so confident in a sequel. It's not trying to remake the first movie, and it's not trying to piggyback off of the successes. If anything, it's story wise. So affected by the first movie in such natural ways. I thought it was great. I mean, there are definitely some parts that weren't great.
Yeah.
However, I really enjoyed it. I did a couple fist pumps.
Yeah.
Yelled a couple times, especially with Mickey Rourke, such a cool villain.
Yeah, I thought he was very cool. You know, he starts off the movie and his father dies, and you kind of hear, or he sees that Tony's on TV saying that he's Iron Man, which he said in the first movie. Mm-hmm. So they're replaying the footage, which was, I think, a really good way to kind of remind the viewer what had happened without doing like the Rocky series, how almost all the movies except for the last 3, they start with the last. Like a montage of
and they're showing it through someone else's eyes.
Yeah, so it's interesting and it works. And so they do that, and then you just see him building stuff.
Yeah,
and the whole time you're just like, who's this guy? Because he looks interesting. He's weird. He's from Russia, and you're just kind of like, who is this? And you don't find out until like 2 hours in the movie.
Well, the interesting thing too is right before his dad dies, he tells that's on the news, and his dad's watching Stark. And he's like, I wish I could have given you that, but all I could give you was my knowledge. And then he starts building all this stuff. And you're like, okay, his dad was some crazy scientist.
Oh, yeah.
That taught him all of this stuff.
Somehow, but
yeah. So it validated that part of it. And it was really, really interesting. His dad did not look very old compared to Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, about the same age, probably.
Maybe that guy was like a couple years older, but we're not going to analyze that too much.
No. But then after that, it goes directly to Iron Man and his intro, and I think it's such a great way to bring him into the movie because you hear which movie? Highway to Hell, I think, or which song? The AC/DC song, because it's kind of like AC/DC is his soundtrack. Which this movie did have a AC/DC soundtrack that didn't have any of the songs. Like, it didn't have any of the score or any of the other songs. It just had AC/DC songs. And it included that. And it had, like, it was in an Iron Man package. And I definitely owned it. And I think I still have it somewhere. So it's the Iron Man 2 soundtrack, AC/DC score.
Oh.
But then I think they had, like, the soundtrack, the normal soundtrack. And then I think they had a score as well. So a lot of that. So they had, like, a lot of different promotion and, like, cross-promotion on this movie. But anyway, it starts and that music plays and he flies into this conference, just flies out of the sky and everyone's like, Tony, Iron Man. And there's all these girls in these weird like bikini Iron Man suits that are dancing and it's playing.
They're his cheerleaders.
Yeah, cheerleaders. Yeah. And then I think it's very funny. He does this huge show and then his big move when the song ends is he just kind of slightly points downward. You remember that?
And the crowd goes wild.
And they go wild. And then he talks about how they're bringing in... they're going to do the Stark Expo again, which is kind of like
it's like a Disneyland for almost. Technology. Oh, yeah, World Fair is a better one for that, yeah. Where people get to come and showcase their inventions and their ideas and hopefully get funding from it.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. But yeah, he's so cool. He's so cocky. Mm-hmm. And then you learn pretty early on. Well, no, because then he is served a subpoena.
Yes.
And he has to go...
By Kate Mara, of all people.
By Kate Mara, who was...
in one scene.
Why was she so sexy?
Well, because she was trying to make sure she gets his attention to give him the subpoena.
Yeah, but she was sexy the whole time. The whole time.
Oh,
there wasn't a part where,
like...
him? Yeah, after she served it to him, she wasn't like, I'm done.
I know. I think that scene would be that
stuff.
Scene would have been better because I think they were trying to be like, wow, Tony's so cool that even this girl who just has to give him a subpoena wants him. I think it would have been funnier if she gives it like he's like, who are you, honey? She hands him the subpoena and then she's just like, anyway, see you later, and just walks.
Yeah,
away.
That would have been funny. But anyway, so then he goes in front of. Is it the Senate or Congress or
I think it's
some
Congress.
branch of government because they're demanding his suit.
Yeah, because they're basically saying that he is a weapon.
Yes,
and that's an interesting concept. I like that. A lot.
Yeah, it's great because it's directly affected by the first movie. Mm-hmm. This huge thing happens. This man is a weapon. How could the second movie not be? Like, if it wasn't about that, it would be. I wouldn't even know what they would do, but I think it would be a lot worse.
And what's interesting is if you notice the movie kind of is there is something to be said for it's a capitalism versus big government movie.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Hollywood doesn't tend to err on the side of capitalism, but they do in this movie.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie, it's like they want to regulate and restrict this.
But really just use it. They're not really regulating it. But yeah, I know what you mean.
And then he's going, well, I'm the one who made it. This is America.
Also, he is the only one who can use it because of his heart.
Well,
I mean, I know other people invent it, stuff like that, but part of the problem, it shows other people are doing it unsuccessfully. Part of it is because it's unique to him. Yeah. But then we have Mickey Rourke who not perfects it. He makes his own version of it.
Right. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's funny and interesting that the movie is like a pro-capitalism movie. Mm-hmm. In one sense of looking at the movie. You can read it that way. And I think that's showcased the most in the courtroom scene. Yeah. Which is a circus. And is this the first two and only two F words in the entire series?
Well, they don't actually say it.
Yeah, they're beeped out because it's on TV, but I don't think there's any others.
It was so perfect. It was so funny. Because it was
like, F you, Mr. Stark, F you. Yeah. As he's walking away after he just kind of tears up this
That guy was so
Congress.
Good.
Yeah, he was
Whoever
good.
that guy was. But yeah, it was. But then that's when we are introduced to Sam Rockwell, who was introduced during that whole case. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing that he is trying to do the same thing. He's trying to make these robots just like everyone else to use as weapons. Yeah. And then directly after this scene, we're shown that the heart thing in Tony Stark is killing him. Yeah. Because it can't. It's just not sustainable.
It's putting toxicity in his blood. Yeah. And one thing, back to the court, I wanted to touch on, if I can remember. Oh, yes. It continues the ideas that were presented in the first movie, which is why I think another reason why it works so well, because it's still Tony trying to say, yes, you can regulate weapons, but I am trying to keep peace. I'm not trying to do weapons, which is the whole arc of him in the other movie. So they didn't go back on that or anything. So anyway.
Which is so interesting because his version of peace is the world revolving around him. Mm-hmm. This movie is showing him on this huge narcissistic rise. Yeah. That is something he has to choose between by the end of the movie. But it's like, yeah, I'm going for peace. But then kind of after that, they go to Monteco. That's not what the country's called.
Monteco?
That country in France. Or that city in
Monaco.
France. Monaco.
Monteco.
Anyway, he's there. There's this really famous race that's going to happen. He's like, yeah, I could race. Mm-hmm. And he goes and pays some guy off and just starts racing. Like an idiot. But he can't because he's Tony Stark and he's so cool and everyone loves him. Right. And that's when Mickey Rourke is introduced.
Well, you're missing something. Okay. Not to derail.
Oh, Scarlett Johansson.
But there's a scene before. So we've done all this. And then Tony he gives the company to Gwyneth Paltrow. Yep. Pepper Potts. And then he is boxing with Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau. And this woman walks in. First shot of her is a big old butt shot, if I remember correctly. And she is this person that is portrayed as this sexy
notary, the sexiest notary you've ever seen.
And this is my biggest problem with the movie, because it is so gross to me. So she comes in sexy, and Tony Stark is like, "Yo, who are you? This, that, and the other thing." Okay, whatever. And I just think this speaks to this weird issue in Hollywood where, not to go too much on a tangent here, but later on in the movie, we find out she's Black Widow. Although they never say Black Widow, I don't think.
Not that I remember.
And then she beats guys up in this one scene, which is actually a pretty cool action sequence. But there's this weird thing in movies that you notice where they present a woman and they go, "Oh my gosh, she is so hot, she's so sexy." And you think to yourself, well, that's sexist. That's gross. Stop doing that. But then they show her beating up a bunch of people and that she is, quote, a strong female character. And I don't think being sexist and then allowing that character to just beat up a bunch of guys makes up for the fact that you were sexist to begin with.
Yeah.
And there can be sexy characters, but it's very weird because it's like the scenes with her they're shot with a man behind the camera. You know what I mean? They are not shot through a woman's eyes. They're not shot objectively, and it's pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's weird that every strong female character has to be a badass who is sexy.
Mm-hmm.
She can't be bland and a badass, and she can't just be, I don't know. It's so infuriating, and it seems like for the most part, the movies that I have seen Scarlett Johansson in, it seems like that's kind of what she is in her movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, that's a bummer to me.
Yeah.
And so usually when I see her, I'm kind of like, oh boy.
Yeah.
She's not always that way in movies, but still.
Yeah. I feel like every time I see her in a movie, she has to reprove herself to me.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel, I don't care even a little bit every time I see her in it. One thing I'm really confused about, and this is someone who's never read the comics, so take that with a grain of salt, listeners. Don't understand why she is so central to all of these movies. I've never heard of her, and I know it's kind of like going along with like what we were talking about with the Hulk. It's like maybe there's just stuff that goes over my head because I haven't read it. Mm-hmm. But it's like I feel like they wrote her in because they needed a female character. Because they had all these men superheroes. They needed a female superhero. And I'm not interested. There's just something about it where I'm not interested in her character. Same with Hawkeye. It's just like they're just there to help them fight a big battle scene. That's about it.
Yeah.
But she keeps popping up and she's like helping out. And I understand she's like a really smart secret spy who can help out with a lot of stuff. Like that, but I don't think she has warranted that.
Yeah, and she's, I guess you see her and it does feel like she's in the movies for a demographic.
Yeah,
not because she actually is central to the story. And there probably should be more female characters in these stories, but that's part of the reason why I'm excited for Captain Marvel, because it looks like from the trailers, she is just a cool character and she's part of the story. So it will be interesting in that way.
Yeah.
This is like the way she's introduced and what she does throughout the series. I don't know. It feels like it could be anybody.
Well, someone I would contrast her with is in Black Panther, his bodyguard. That girl is so cool.
Yeah.
She seems like has way more experience in combat than even Black Panther, which, it's not really true. But she is just so... especially how she acts, how the actress acts. It's just like she's so... not overconfident. She's so confident about what she's doing, though. And she's doing her job well. And I'm not saying the actress at that point. I'm saying, like, the bodyguard.
Yeah.
And she serves her purpose. She's not serving to another purpose.
Right.
Whether that be sexually or in some other way.
Yeah.
I'm not distracted by her. I actually am like, I want to see more of her because she's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I know there might be someone who's listening. I understand that Scarlett Johansson in these movies does have purposes. And she, like in this movie, she is supposed to kind of double cross Tony to set him up so that they have someone spying on S.H.I.E.L.D. My point is, it could have been done better.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we got through the tangent.
Yeah.
But there's going to be more because she is a central player in these. Maybe our mind will change in some of the other ones. I don't think so. But I know in Avengers she didn't really bother me. But maybe that's because she just
That's where
was
I got
there.
confused. I think that's the first time I saw her, too.
No, Infinity War is what I meant. But she's also like in it for 5 minutes because there was too much other stuff to cover.
Everyone got 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
There's so many people in that movie.
But then we get to the race.
Mm-hmm.
And side note, Elon Musk is there. And he is like excited to see Tony, which is a kind of funny joke because he's basically a real life Tony. And for him to be excited about Tony, it's kind of funny. Kind of cute. But then we have this scene where Whiplash, played by Mickey Rourke...
that's the name.
Yes. He attacks Iron Man when he's driving in the race car.
He's not Iron Man though. He's Tony.
He's Tony. And this scene is cool.
Yeah, it's
this
scary.
Scene is really cool. The way they shot it, the effects in the scene.
Yeah.
I would be so interested to see how much that one scene cost.
Yeah.
Because there's some other bigger set pieces, but the effects are so good in the scene. I feel like that scene alone was just like $25-30 million.
Yeah, and I think that he plays that stone cold face character so well. Sometimes it's really boring. Yeah. It's like, oh, I would expect that from the villain. He is just. It's so it's a little
great. Haunting.
Yeah, it scares me.
And it's cool because we don't know what his motive is yet.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, why is he even doing this? So he's using these electric whips that he's hitting cars with, and they're just going flying. And I loved that special effect. If you have not watched a movie recently, just look up the scene because it's that cool. Mm-hmm. But he'll like rip the cars in half with one strike of the whip, and you can see the interior of the car. Yeah. And then there are orange burn marks, like it just got out of a fire.
I think when that happened, I said genuinely, whoa.
Yeah, we got a genuine whoa. I think so far, I think that is the best scene in the series.
Okay.
For me, personally. Okay. Or like the coolest scene.
Yeah.
Because it's so superhero-y. It's so over the top, but it is so cool. And he is so imposing. And to see Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark weak is also very interesting.
Yeah, he was scared. There was fear in his face.
Yeah, so I love when he does it to Tony's car. He gets out. Tony's dodging it, but he doesn't have his Iron Man suit. So then Happy and Pepper Potts drive in. They have a briefcase. They finally get the briefcase
The briefcase
out.
has a suit in it.
Well, the briefcase is his suit,
which
is also so freaking cool because he just puts it on the ground and steps into it and becomes Iron Man.
Yeah.
That scene is so cool. It's just a cool scene.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking about in Incredible Hulk, there are times in these movies where they actually did really good action. And I would argue that this is like pitch perfect action filmmaking.
I know. I've seen it in movies like Pitch Perfect. It's great.
Completely derailed.
But yeah, so they pin him, Whiplash, so he's arrested. He is in jail.
One more thing about the sequence. I'm sorry, but just to point out again, and it looks so good, when Whiplash, he pulls off his shirt a little bit, and then he turns on his Whiplash, and his clothes burn
yeah, that
off
was
of
pretty
him.
freaking awesome.
And those effects are so great. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
sorry.
Nice mention. I forgot about that. I love that. Yeah, so then he's in jail in France, and you would presume forever because he definitely killed some people. And they just did such a wonderful breakout because it's like he knows that he's going to be broken out too, but he doesn't even really know by who. Mm-hmm. And he's given food, and one of the items on his food tray is, it's covertly, like it's covered. It's a bomb. And this man comes into a cell wearing the same prisoner number.
Yeah.
So they fake his death.
And what's so cool is when he looks at the guy.
Yeah.
And Whiplash just knows what to do, and he just knocks him unconscious.
Yeah.
And as a viewer, I'm confused. I'm like, okay, I know he's breaking out, but I don't know how or
like
what.
Where is he going? He just walks out of the prison? I don't think so.
And he walks out, it explodes.
Yeah.
And again, really nice action filmmaking. Because remember, he sees the guard and he just like picks him up and breaks his neck.
Jon Favreau likes walking away explosion shots.
Yeah, that's two.
Yeah. Well, no, there was one too when he hit one of those cars with the Whiplash thing, and there was an explosion behind him. So
that was cool
we're 3 right now.
Well, it's also cool because those are... That's what they should be doing, because when you look at a comic book, those are the kind of shots you see.
You're watching a movie and you're like, I bet that's a frame.
Yeah, it looks like a frame from a comic book. It's
or a panel.
So cool.
Yeah.
A panel, yeah.
But yeah, so he's taken to Sam Rockwell, who he discovers is the man who bought his freedom, essentially.
Another great scene where he's eating dinner out by the plane.
Yeah, it's a hangar.
Sam Rockwell's just saying like, "Oh, we can get anything shipped over here. This is."
It's really hard to describe how great it is. As his acting is, it's like you just have to watch it.
He's charming.
Oh, would you burp there
again? He's so charming in this. He
is charming, and he's crazy.
Yeah, He's so great.
Yeah, so he basically tells him, like, this is the reason why I got you out of prison. This is what I want you to do for me. This is what I can do for you. You basically owe me your life because I saved yours.
Yeah.
And then Whiplash was just like, this is amazing. Like, best thing that could ever happen to me. Give me my bird. Because he has a bird that's in Russia.
Yeah.
He's like, all I need is my bird and I'm set.
Did he ever get the bird?
He did.
Okay.
Remember, because they put the bird in a bag to threaten him later on. But yeah.
Side note, this is going to be my fun thing to say about Sam Rockwell. I like my Sam on the rocks.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good.
Yes.
He's on the rocks the whole movie.
Yeah. Because Rockwell. Okay. Now we're back in the movie.
Yeah.
Then we have that sequence where Iron Man and War Machine fight because Iron Man is drunk and he is not using his
is that what
suit
Don
well.
Cheadle is called?
Yeah, that's his not his character name, but his superhero name.
Okay.
But yeah, that sequence is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they're tearing up the house, and Tony Stark's just being so irresponsible.
And at that point, it's at that point in the movie too, with having all the stuff from the first movie. As a viewer, you're just like, will he ever stop thinking about himself? Mm-hmm. Will he ever start thinking about what he's doing and how it affects the business? But not even that, just like, he's a public figure. Mm-hmm. So just how is that going to affect all those things? He's not really thinking about anyone but himself. He just wants to have a good time.
Yeah.
And you look at him and it's sad because you're looking at a sad, lonely person. Because these people aren't his friends who were at his birthday party. He doesn't know any of these people.
Because Pepper, probably his closest friend, and War Machine walk into the party after it's been going on for probably hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, so his two closest friends.
And you see that Pepper has a present for him, but she never gives it to him.
It's his birthday, I forgot.
Yeah, and she never gives it to him.
Did she ever give it to him?
Not that it was revealed to us.
Oh, okay.
So it's like she probably bought something nice for him, and it was just sad. It was sad to watch. You feel a little like despaired for him because it's just like, how can he be Iron Man when he's Tony Stark?
Yeah, and it's nice because famously in comic books he's an alcoholic, and there are some runs and issues where they like really deal with that.
Yes.
And I feel like they haven't like fully dealt with his alcoholism, and it would have been cool. I still imagine he's probably going to die in the new Avengers, but in this movie they touch on it more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice to see.
Yeah.
And then we have there's a little Daft Punk in that movie.
Robot Rock
when they're fighting.
We got some more fist pumps at that part of the movie.
Yeah. But then the movie does something I'm not as big a fan of. Mm-hmm. And it kind of takes this sidestep to establish his relationship with his father, and then to kind of set up the Avengers. And the setting up of the Avengers isn't really... It's pretty good. It's decent, because Nick Fury is basically like, I'm going to force you to figure out what's wrong with your heart because we need you.
Yeah.
And you need to get over this slump you're in.
Yeah.
So he starts, because he's worried about his mortality. That's another reason why he's getting drunk, because he thinks he's going to die.
Yeah.
But finally, he's doing his thing, and then it's kind of like... he does this whole sequence where he's watching videos of his father.
Well, you know what's interesting about that? He's at the beginning of the movie when he gives that presentation at the expo.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's about legacy.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like he's almost rejecting his own legacy because of his bad relationship with his father.
Oh, so now he's accepting it?
Now he's like kind of forced to accept
now
his
I like that
legacy.
part.
Yeah, it's interesting because, he even signs away the company. He's still like an owner. He reruns some things, but he's not the CEO anymore. He gives that to Pepper. He's like rejecting...
You just cracked the movie, Jordan.
he's rejecting his legacy until it's called upon him to accept it.
Dang it. Now the part I had a biggest problem with, I don't have a problem with anymore.
You're welcome.
Yeah, cool. Okay, the movie's better now. Okay. But what I was going to say is they sidestep to do all of this stuff. And then he's able to find this atom that can
because
solve his heart.
That part was really unclear.
That whole 10 minutes didn't make a lot of sense.
The hard part about that, though, is how else could they have explained that?
Yeah.
I don't, no one's going to know what any of this scientific stuff means.
Right.
So it was one of those weird things where it's like, I don't know what they could have done. And I don't know if they could have done it better.
Yeah.
I was really lost.
And now that you've made the legacy argument, I don't think you can cut it. You're right, Jordan. You fixed it.
I just kind of threw my hands up and I was like, I'm going to ride this ride they're taking me on, and I'm just going to trust that this is a good thing and it's going to be fine.
But it is inexplicable.
Yeah.
Like the way his dad hides this molecule and then the way he creates it are not really explained. There's that great joke where Agent Coulson comes in and he goes, "Where'd you find this?" And it's Captain America's shield, who has not been in the series at all yet.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh my gosh, can I see that? That's perfect." And then he sets it under a pipe to even it out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Perfect."
Yeah.
Which I think was very funny.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Gotta say, I like Cheadle more than I like Terrence
He was very good.
Howard.
I really liked the scene. One of my favorite scenes of the movie, in terms of just visually how cool it looked, was when they were in the Japanese garden. I know I'm jumping ahead a lot, but it was so beautiful because they have all these cherry blossoms falling around them.
This is at the end, when the final sequence is happening.
Yeah, it's just all these cherry blossoms, and it's all green, and there's this brook like running through this, and it was very beautiful for an action sequence. I felt like it was. I really liked that they chose that kind of backdrop, and it made sense because they were in this like World Fair thing. So it's not like, oh, where do they where are they at now?
Yeah.
It was cool.
We're kind of jumping around now. So sorry, person who's listening.
We just have one person.
Well, I hope it's 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah, shooting big for these stars.
Talking about you, Tom.
So
Cruise.
Oh, I hope Tom Cruise is listening. Tom, we'd love to have you on anytime, any movie. It doesn't even have to be a series.
Hey, you choose the movie.
We'd love to sit down and watch all 6 Mission Impossibles with you and do a podcast for all of them, though.
We'll make popcorn.
What do you need? We can make it happen. I won't join Scientology.
Sorry, I can't do that.
And I'm not trying to make fun of you or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you're listening right now, I'm not going to join Scientology, but we'd love to have you over.
Just give us a call.
Yeah. I forgot, though, before he discovers the molecule, he goes to Pepper, and he's trying to apologize to her about the whole incident with getting drunk, and he brings strawberries.
Yes.
And she's like, "There's one food I'm allergic to, and it is strawberries."
Yeah.
And they have a whole interaction, and I just think I forgot how much chemistry those two
so
have
wonderful.
together.
That was such a great scene.
And he's really trying to be apologetic, but it's only as apologetic as Tony Stark can be, which is
it's not very much.
Most people's like narcissism.
Yeah.
His apologetic is most people's narcissism. And so it's a great scene. It's weird that Natasha is working with Pepper Potts.
Yeah.
Because they didn't seem to like each other.
Oh, no. Oh, she doesn't sleep, by the way. She's a notary. She's now an assistant. She's Black Widow.
Yeah, she doesn't. Well, Black Widows famously don't sleep. That's not true.
Wonder how many people she's eaten.
Probably just all of her husbands.
Yeah.
And children? Do they do that? No, that's Daddy Longlegs.
Yeah. Why do they do that?
I don't know. I think I'm wrong.
Okay.
Anyway. But and also in that sequence when he is finding the element, it's funny to imagine in that sequence what was happening on set that day, because none of the images that were being shown were there on set.
What are you talking about?
Because they're holograms. When he's trying to reconstruct that atom and make the new element.
Yeah.
Or element. I've been saying atom. Element.
Yeah.
It's just him waving his hands around on set.
Yeah.
That's it. Which is just funny to think about. Then we finally get to the final sequence with Sam Rockwell, and he's presenting all of his robots, and then Whiplash, who's mad at Sam Rockwell for hiding his bird and forcing him to do things.
Well, he created a product for him that was better than what he originally wanted, and he was upset by that. So then he was like, "You're not going to give me what I want. I'm gonna take things away from you that you want." So he takes his bird away. He takes his shoes. And then he's like he has these guards that are going to watch him, so he can't do anything. So he's taking his freedom away from him. Not like he had much, but like he's taking his basic human rights away from him.
Yeah.
So it's like he is in turn going to take that away from him, hacks into the robots' mainframes, and takes them over. And like a lot of Marvel movies, a lot of people die.
Yeah. And then they fight them all off. And then Whiplash comes in his suit.
Yes.
And that fight is very anticlimactic, which is a bit of
it's
a
very
bummer.
quick. No, I'm fine with it because the other stuff was so long.
Yeah, but it's, it's like he was such a cool bad guy, and then they just kind of kill him. And
it's like they really gave it to him in the first act.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a little backwards.
Yeah. And then,
But does he die?
I think we just assume he does. They don't really say.
Oh, they do that explosion thing.
Yeah, where they shoot their blasts at each other and then it explodes.
Oh, and then all the robots are about to explode. No, because he's like, I win. That's the last thing we see of him.
And then they fly away. And
so they might not have killed him.
Yeah, but he's not in any other movies.
Doesn't mean he's not dead.
It
doesn't mean he is dead.
Well, no, I think he's
whatever. So then he saves Pepper. And then she flips out and is like, I resign as being CEO. I can't take this anymore. I can't do any of this stuff. And they have such a sweet embrace. Mm-hmm. And Don Cheadle watches the whole thing.
Yep. And then finally, Stanley cameo. He's mistaken as Larry King.
I thought it was funny.
Pretty funny. It's my third favorite out of the three.
Okay. I would say second for me.
Oh, like it better than the soda drink?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so that is Iron Man 2. I think we pretty much covered it all.
Yes.
I think we covered it pretty thoroughly, actually. I'm surprised we delved that deep. So, as far as the series goes, what do we think in the larger framework of a franchise? And then specifically, how do we think compared to just Iron Man?
As a franchise, wonderful movie. Mm-hmm. Although, I'm not a big fan of Black Widow. I mean, they introduce Black Widow. They introduce
Nick Fury. Although he is an Iron Man.
He is, but he is a little bit more of a central role.
Yeah.
And then, not super central. And then the other guy from Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in it.
Yeah.
So I know he's in the other one, but they really introduce him here. Mm-hmm. And then you have Don Cheadle, who is really, I know he's in the first one, like pretty significantly, that character.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's realized.
Yes.
In this movie.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's very important character-wise, all these things that happen. Plus, for Pepper Potts' character development, really important. Also, it's just great.
Yeah.
As an Iron Man movie, it is just what you would want from a sequel. It's a little bit better.
I think, I don't think I have anything else to add because I agree with all that stuff. So next week, I just burped so much.
Next week is Thor.
And just my preliminary guess, I think we're both going to really not like it.
Nope.
But we'll see.
Yep.
Because I've only seen it once and it was a long time ago.
Me too.
So we'll see. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Rate, review, and subscribe. Share it with your friends too, please.
And your parents if you think they're into that.
Yeah. If they're not, just hack onto their phone and subscribe so that we still get the subscribers.
But thank you.
Thank you.
And Tom, still waiting for that phone call.
Wait for that call, baby. See ya.